Hi, I'm Christa with the Big Family Homestead, and I've got to give you some information about this video that you're getting ready to watch. While this is a new video, this monkey bread video is this dough that I'm getting ready to show you how to make is shared with 4 different recipes. That's why you've seen a lot of different there's other videos with the same intro, but it is a different recipe at the end. So keep watching. If you've already seen the beginning part, you can even skip ahead to where I'm starting to make the monkey bread. So enjoy the video. Now for ingredients, we're going to use 4 cups of water, 1 1/3 cup of sugar. Yes, I said 1 1/3 cup. Then we're going to use 3 tablespoons of dry active yeast, half a stick of butter, a half a cup of butter, which is 1 full stick, 1 tablespoon of salt, and 10 to 12 cups of flour. I know that's a lot of flour, but I'll explain why. All right, the first step in our recipe is we're going to get our yeast proofing. So we've got 4 cups of warm water. It's not like too hot. It's warm, okay? You don't want it too hot. Too hot, you'll kill your yeast. Too cold, and your bread it will not activate your yeast. So we're gonna go ahead and dissolve our sugar. And I forgot my Dutch whisk over there. So I'm gonna dissolve this so slowly. I'll be back when this is dissolved. The yeast, no, not the yeast. The sugar is now finally dissolved. I did use an organic cane sugar. That's why the water is a little yellow. You can use white sugar if you want. You can even use honey. It's just, you need a sweetener. The amount of the sweetener is quite a bit. However, there's a reason for that. This sweetener in here makes it the best bread ever. I'm just telling you. So now we need 3 tablespoons of yeast, and what I'll do is I'll just sprinkle this right here on top, just like so, and I'll give it a little bit. Come on, get out of there. Just wants to stick in there. I'm just gonna whisk it just a little bit, just to kind of get all of the yeast wet, but I'm not going to overwork this. I'm just gonna get this yeast wet, and then I'm gonna leave it alone. So we're gonna let this sit for just a couple minutes, and then we will start by adding our butter and then a little bit of flour and get this going, okay? So give us a few minutes, be back, and you'll see the yeast activated. All right, as you can see in our bowl here, it's starting to get bubbly. We're gonna go ahead and add our flour before we add our salt. We're gonna go ahead and add I'm gonna add like 5 cups of flour, just so that we can get it incorporated really nicely. I am fluffing up the flour so it's not a heavy scoop of flour. That's 3. I have a hard time counting and talking at the same time. So this is 4 and number 5. So then we're gonna have, we've got our flour on top of our bread, or on top of our water. No, we don't have bread yet. That's what we're working on, right? And 1 tablespoon of salt. You can use whatever salt you like. If you want it less salt, the salt actually isn't even really necessary. It does add some flavor to it, but it's not really necessary because this is more of a sweet bread. So we're just gonna go ahead and mix this. So if you wanna use less salt, by all means, you can use less salt. I just have found that the 1 tablespoon works for this particular recipe. Now, if this is too much of a batch for you, you can, our cookbook, our first cookbook, our family favorites, has this recipe in it, and I did double what was in the cookbook. So the original recipe is half of this, but I wanted to make a larger batch to show you the many different ways that we can manipulate this bread, which is awesome. And this video and all of the bread videos and all of the sauces and the preparedness videos, these videos are for us to help motivate you to do these things. To to make things at home from scratch. We're not always going to be able to buy a loaf of bread from the store, or it's going to cost $8. Well, right now, I think a loaf of bread, the cheap loaf of bread is like maybe $1.50. Sometimes you can get them $1, but for good bread, it's $4 or $5. And it's ridiculous. And so say the artisan bread that I make, those are $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 already. And you can make them at home for less than 50 cents. So we're gonna get this nice and smooth. And then we're gonna add a cup of flour, probably 2 cups of flour next. I forgot to add the butter. I'm gonna add the butter right now before I get any further. So I've got 1 stick of melted butter. If you want to use coconut oil, you can use coconut oil. If you want to use olive oil, go ahead. Vegetable oil, that's fine too. I've done that. I like the flavor of the bread, or I like the flavor of the bread with butter being used instead. So we're gonna mix this in before we get any further. See what happens. This is not Hollywood, folks. This is not Food Network. Not at all. We don't have millions of people walking around doing everything for you. I'm doing this by myself. So, get that incorporated. We're gonna add some more flour. And again, we're fluffing this up so it's not heavy. There's 2. So we're at 7 cups of flour right now. And we will add between 10 and 12 cups, depending on the humidity in the air. It's a cool day. I do have the windows open. The heat is off because the sun is shining. It's absolutely gorgeous. So when the sun is shining in the house, it gets pretty warm in here. So I open up a couple of windows even when it's 40 degrees outside, or even colder. Because I'm at that stage of my life where my thermostat is broken, and I need it cooler in the house, so, which is torment for the rest of the family. All right, now, all right, we're gonna add a couple more cups of flour. So 7, 8, 9. And we're gonna keep going, and I'll keep incorporating flour, and we'll come back when it's close to being time to knead it. Right. Now we need to dig in with our hands. I'm up to 11 cups of flour, and it's getting a little difficult to mix with the Dutch whisk. So now it's time to dig in, get your hands dirty. If you have a stand mixer that can hold this amount, great. That would be ideal because this is a lot of dough. I generally, when our KitchenAid was working, it's broken now. It needs a new worm drive or something like that. I can't remember. When it was working, I could put this amount in there, but it was struggling. That's probably why we need a new worm drive. So I can put this amount in our Bosch mixer, but I wanted to show you what it looks like when you're not using a mixer. So as you can see, it's taking all that 11 cups of flour in. There's still a little bit on the bottom, but that's okay. It will work into it. This is a little bit more difficult than the smaller amount, but that's okay. It's a good arm workout. Take your aggression out on the dough when you're irritated with what the government's doing, or what your kids are doing or not doing. Make this, get irritated with the bread. Oop, now it's getting a little sticky. I need to add a little bit more to the top. Not too much, because we don't want to add too much flour. Too much flour and it'll become a brick. And I've made plenty of bricks. And see, I'm just turning the bowl and just kind of folding it in half. I will put it out on the counter here in a minute, because the bowl is getting a little small. So let me go ahead and move this and this and this, and let's just let's put some flour on the counter here, just so that it doesn't stick. We'll get this cleaned out, put it on top. There we go. Now this when it's on the counter, I basically just fold and turn, just like what I'm doing in the bowl, but I'm using my hand. And I'm sure that there is the professional way to do this. This is how I learned. So it works for me. You find what works for you. As long as the dough gets kneaded, we're fine. All right, so I've got a lot stuck to my hand still. Not, I guess I shouldn't say a lot. There's some. I'm gonna just kind of fold that in there. And we're just gonna keep kneading this until it's a nice smooth dough. It's just about there. So we only needed a little over 11 cups of flour. Oh, see, there was a spot there that had some dry flour in it, so we've got to mix that in. We don't want that, we don't want big pockets of flour in our dough. So we got to keep mixing. And we may need to add a little bit to the top here because it's just a touch sticky. But maybe if I just flip it around, you just got to work with it. There we go. It's that pushing and pulling, and that's what helps develop the gluten, not the gluten. I don't remember what Paul Hollywood calls it. I learned a little bit from him. Not too much. I don't watch a lot of TV, but a long time ago when I was learning how to make bread, I watched some of his videos. And I remember one video he said that his father taught him how to make bread, I believe. His father said, if you're not using both hands to knead the bread, then you only get paid half. So he always used both hands. All right, so we're good. It's a touch sticky, but that's okay. It's not, it's kind of holding its shape here. So we press down, it springs back up, which is what we want. So we're gonna put this into a greased bowl, cover it with plastic, and leave it sit for an hour in a warm place. And then we'll come back and I'll divide this out and show you what we're gonna do next. So we waited our hour, and you can see I actually increased the size of the bowl. The bowl that I was using to knead it all in was half the size of this bowl. This makes a lot of dough, okay? So we're gonna divide, we're gonna put it onto a floured counter, lightly floured. We're gonna divide this into 4 pieces. So here we go. We're gonna move this over here, put some flour down on the counter. And then we're gonna put this out on the counter here. There's a lot of it, as you can see. So, since I greased the bowl, actually what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna knock this down here real quick because it is super big. I don't want it to flop all over the stove here. I don't have a very big workspace here to where you can see everything. So, there we go. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit more flour on top, and we're gonna knead this just a little bit, not a lot. Just so that it's not sticky. It was a little bit sticky just because it had been rising for so long, but that's okay. We're just gonna knock the air out of this, and then we'll divide this into 4. Okay. So there we go. We got a nice, smooth, humongous ball of dough here. So we're just going to divide this into 4. And if you want to be super, not super picky, but exact with your measurements, you can measure these on a scale so that you have the exact amount of dough divided into 4. These should be about, can't remember, maybe a pound and a half. I'll get my scale here in a second to tell you how big these are. But I'm just gonna divide these out, put them in a, roll them over, and I'm gonna set them over here where I've put some grease, just so that it doesn't stick. And then I'll put some plastic over it while we work with all the different steps. And that way it doesn't dry out. But we'll get these rolled over here real quick. And then we'll get the scale and we'll see how much these weigh so that you know about how much this should be. So, right back. So we've got our scale. I put a bowl on top just to keep the scale clean. And I've got it zeroed out with the weight of the bowl. So this one is 1 pound 7 ounces. So I was not too far off. 1 pound 7 ounces. Boy, I got it exact there, didn't I? This is 1 pound 9 ounces. And this one is a bit heavier. So I'm going to take some of this one off and some of the other one off, because I want them to be just about the same. 1.8, there we go. 1.9. I may leave one of them slightly bigger. That one will be for the monkey bread. 1.8, good. And actually, I'll just cut this into 2. That's 2 ounces. Done. We'll just live with that. It doesn't have to be an exact amount. So now what we're gonna do, I'll get this out of the way. Cover these with plastic so they don't dry out. Dried out dough is no fun. So we're gonna need these little globules in there. And then for this one, we're going to make this one. We're gonna actually be done with this part of the video real quick. That way I can get the proper pans set up so that we can do the next step. So this first one we're gonna go ahead and do as a loaf of bread. And I'll show you how I roll that, and then we'll move on to the next steps. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get the loaf pan and the other pans set up so that we can do this relatively quick and easy. All right, now for the fun one. We're going to go ahead and make monkey bread. So I like to use a bundt pan. You can use whatever you want. I've used loaf pans before, but I like this. It makes it really fun because then you can dump it out on a plate, drizzle it with the icing. This is gonna be super fun. So what I do is I take our cinnamon sugar mix, and this is just, I think it's 1 part cinnamon, 2 parts sugar. I think that's the mix. I can't remember. So I take some of this and I sprinkle it in our pan, just like so, just so that it coats the pan, right? Not a ton, just a little bit. So we're gonna add more later. Then we take our dough blade and we're gonna just chop this into little tiny pieces like so. So we'll take this half here, just start chopping it into tiny little pieces. They don't have to be perfect in any way, but you want them to be small pieces like this, because they'll expand, they'll get big. So the smaller, the better. So like this, we're just gonna plop them into the pan in various spots. They don't have to be exact pieces either. We're just gonna dump them in there. And then we'll sprinkle some of the cinnamon sugar on top when we have about 1 layer in there. This is a fun one to do with the kids. They really like making this because they can tear it apart with their hands if they want to. Just like so. This is so much fun. They love doing this. They, of course, love eating it too. All right, so there we've got 1 level here. We're gonna take a little bit of butter and just kind of drizzle it in on top so that the cinnamon sugar will stick to the dough just a little bit, like so. Then we're gonna take this. I think I'm gonna grab a spoon. Makes it a little easier to maneuver. And then just kind of sprinkle that on top, just like that. And we'll keep going and we'll do layers. So I'll take each quarter and it will be a layer. So this is I love making this. This is so much fun. All right, so I'm gonna keep layering. We'll be back. I'll show you as it's done, and then we'll cover it, let it rise, and then we'll bake it. Okay, so I have the last layer on top. I love monkey bread. Anything with cinnamon sugar, yummy. What you can do, you can make a variety of this. You can actually add nuts to this or raisins, whatever you like. But this is your basic monkey bread. Now, if you're having this, say if you're having company for Thanksgiving or for Christmas, you can put plastic over the top of this and let it rise in the refrigerator overnight. That way you can throw it in the oven, bake it. I shouldn't say throw it in the oven. Bake it in the morning. That way you're not having to do a lot of prep work in the morning. This and cinnamon rolls are a great thing you can put in the refrigerator overnight, and then they're easily bakeable in the morning. So here's our last sprinkle of cinnamon and sugar. And then we're gonna just cover this again and make sure all those pieces are covered. Cover this with plastic and let this rise for about a half an hour till it's, to the top of the pan. It might take a little bit longer than that, but it will, in a warm place, it will rise, and then it'll be super delicious once you bake it. So again, bake this at 350 degrees for about 30 minutes till it's nice and golden brown. All right, our monkey bread is done. Well, not done. It's risen almost to the top here. It will rise a bit more when we start to bake it, but look at that. Does not look delicious. Oh, it smells so good. Cinnamon is, that's my favorite flavor, other than, of course, chocolate and peanut butter. But we're gonna go ahead and bake this in a 350 degree oven for about 30 minutes. All right, now while we wait for the monkey bread to finish rising, we're gonna go ahead and make up the icing. Now, I use this icing for the cinnamon rolls as well. So for the monkey bread, cinnamon rolls, same recipe. So I am going to use 4 cups of powdered sugar, because I'm doubling the recipe because I have cinnamon rolls and monkey bread. I know that's probably kind of confusing. You can half it. It's 2 cups of powdered sugar normally for one recipe. That's a big chunk of powdered sugar. Look at that. It'll break up, don't worry. So 3 and 4. Now, set that there. Now for this, or to this, we're going to add 1 stick of melted butter. I forgot a spatula. You gotta have a spatula. So 1 cup, or sorry, not 1 cup, 1/2 cup of melted butter, which is 1 stick of butter. And I use salted butter. You don't have to use salted butter, you can use unsalted. And then we're gonna use 1/2 cup of milk. All right. And then we're gonna whisk this till it's nice and smooth with no lumps, especially that big one. I know that 4 cups of powdered sugar and that little bit of melted butter and milk doesn't seem like it would be the right amount, but it is. It works out just perfectly. So we're just gonna whisk this where there's no more lumps of powdered sugar. Now, before I finish that, I'm gonna go ahead and add my secret ingredient. My secret ingredient is orange oil. I use doTERRA. You don't have to use doTERRA, but use a good tasting essential oil. You can use lemon, you can use orange. I prefer our whole family prefers the orange. So we're gonna put in here about 40 drops of the oil here. So we're gonna go ahead and count. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. That's about 40. Could have been more. Could have been less. If it doesn't taste orangey enough, I will add a few more drops. We'll go ahead and mix this in. Oh, that looks so good. And smells even better. I can smell the orange oil. Oh, so good. All right, give this a taste. Not a lot, just a tiny bit. That's all you need. Perfect. Could add more orange. I'm gonna leave it as it is because it has a little bit of orange. You don't want the orange to overpower the cinnamon. You just want it to be an add to it, you know, just a hint of that flavor. So the monkey bread is ready to go in the oven. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Set this off to the side. I'll cover it with plastic. I won't put it in the refrigerator because you want it soft. If it's going to be the next day, go ahead and put it in the refrigerator. But then take it out when you pull out the cinnamon rolls or the monkey bread. So, all right, folks, our monkey bread is finished. Look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? Now, what I'll do with this is I will take a plate and invert the plate over the top. If I can do this before the kids get to it, that'll be better. So now I'm going to very carefully, the plate keeps rolling off of the side. I'm going to very carefully flip this over. This could be internet gold right here as it dumps all over me, or it could be a success. We don't know. So, okay, there we go. All right, now, ooh, look at that. Oh, what a beauty. Beauty, beauty. Oh, I'm so impressed. Look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our icing that we made and we're gonna drizzle it all over the top of it while it's still hot. Our orange, powdered sugar, butter, and milk. Oh, my light just shut off. Oh well. Take this, oof. Just kind of drizzle it on top, and it's just gonna run down the sides like that, like that. Oh. This is something that is great for when you have company coming over, or for Christmas morning, or whatever. But oh, look at that, and that's all you really need. You don't need a ton of frosting, or icing, I should say. Of course, more is always better, right? But look at that, with the icing on there. Yummy. Love it. So good. Can't wait to dig into that. Actually, I am gonna dig into that. Let me grab a fork, because I did just take it out of the oven. It is pretty hot. Just pull a little chunk out of there. Look at that. Oh, really hot. Don't touch that with your fingers because it's really, really hot. But look at that. Nice, delicious, fluffy white bread in there. Oh. So yummy. And Hope is on the other side of the camera laughing at me because I'm being goofy. But this is an easy thing to make if you're having, like I said, if you're having company come over, or for holidays, whatever, or just a Saturday, right? Or Sunday, whatever. This is a great, easy thing to put together. And it's not from a package, which I love even better. So if you like this video, please share it with your family and friends. And don't hesitate to like and subscribe. I'm Christa with the Big Family Homestead, and you have a blessed and amazing day.